Large swaths of the country continue to swelter amid record-breaking heat this summer, including in Arizona, where temperatures in Phoenix have peaked at or above 110 degrees Fahrenheit for the entire month of July. Doctors in the state say health risks are also on the rise, including cases of contact burns, some as severe as second or third degree burns. The Washington Post reports that one toddler named Mason accidentally slipped through a pet door, stepped onto a concrete patio, and was, quote, screaming within seconds. Mason suffered second-degree burns on the soles of his feet, and when his parents took him to an area hospital, they, quote, met another toddler with burned feet. Over in Texas, construction workers are protesting after Republican Governor Greg Abbott signed a law in June that removed mandates for water breaks for outdoor workers, just as the heat wave began to punish the state. Researchers say human-driven climate change makes extreme heat like this at least 5 times more likely. And this month, July 2023, is on course to become the world's hottest month in hundreds, if not thousands of years, according to one NASA scientist. Also, there's this. Heat is the #1 weather-related cause of death in the United States. #1. It often kills more people than hurricanes, floods, and tornadoes combined. And as the new book, The Heat Will Kill You First, points out, heat is a silent, overlooked danger. Quote, when heat comes, it's invisible. It doesn't bend tree branches or blow hair across your face to let you know it's arrived. The ground doesn't shake. It just surrounds you and works on you in ways that you can't anticipate or control. Joining us now is the author of that prescient book, The Heat Will Kill You First, Jeff Goodell. Jeff, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Jonathan.
So as you know, heat domes happen when the atmosphere traps hot ocean air over an area like a lid on a pot. You live in Texas, where heat is particularly dangerous for a number of reasons, including the power grid. Can you explain to everyone why the solution cannot simply be crank up the AC?
You know, we all love a techno fix, right? We all would like it to be that simple that we just, you know, when it gets hot, you just turn on the AC. But in fact, AC is not the solution to this. You know, first of all, there are billions of people on this planet who don't have AC and will never have AC. While I was reporting this book, I spent a lot of time with people in poor communities who maybe did have AC but couldn't afford to run it, or could maybe afford to run it for an hour, and we're trying to decide whether they should run the AC or have enough money to buy dinner. And so it's a huge burden. More importantly, you know, we're not going to air condition the oceans. You know, we're not going to air condition the wheat fields where our food is grown. We're not going to air condition the cornfields. And finally, the other really important point is that, you know, in Texas here where I live, we had a blackout a couple of years ago where I was without power for 5 days. If something like that happened during one of these extreme heat events, all of a sudden the air conditioning would stop, and we would have it would be a massive consequences. We'd have what one infrastructure expert I talked to called a heat Katrina, referring to Hurricane Katrina.
You know, it's clear that local, state, and federal aid programs need to do more to mitigate heat-related risks. What are some things that can be done in the short term?
Well, I mean, there's a whole range of things. I mean, you can start with simple things. You know, cities are much hotter than the rural regions around them, so a lot of the efforts are focused on how to cool cities off. You know, some of the simplest things are, you know, more planting of street trees so that you have more shade, more green spaces for people to get to, opening of cooling centers so that people who don't have air conditioning have cool spaces to go to. You have cities that are doing larger infrastructure projects like, you know, Athens, Greece is rebuilding a Roman aqueduct in order to bring more water into the center of the city, to allow more green space and more planting, democratizing air conditioning so that it's cheaper and people aren't worried about having their power turned off. I mean, heat deaths are avoidable. We can change how we message about heat, how we talk about it. We all know hurricanes and things have ratings. We don't do that for heat waves. And we in the media can get a lot better at it, because we often talk about heat waves and show pictures of kids, playing in sprinklers or hanging out at the beach, and we don't really communicate the scale and urgency of the threat.
Well, speaking of the scale and urgency of the threat, I mean, the heat's not exclusive to the United States. Europe, Asia, the Middle East, North Africa are all experiencing massive heat waves this summer. What type of ripple effect does this have? Do the heat waves happening in Asia and here in the United States, do they have impacts on each other, or are these all separate heat domes acting independently of each other?
Well, they're all separate, but they're all a consequence of the changes that are happening in our atmosphere. As we add more and more CO2 to the atmosphere from the burning of fossil fuels, it is heating up our atmosphere, which is changing the kind of dynamics. The Arctic is heating 4 times faster than the rest of the planet, which is changing where the jet stream goes. The jet stream kind of gets wiggly, and it creates these heat domes where the heat these high pressure zones are kind of locked in. So they're separate, but they're all a consequence of this new climate we're creating by loading it up with CO2.
So, Mr. Goodell, experts say this is just the beginning. This may actually be one of the cooler summers of our lifetimes. Do the scientists and the experts you talk to still think there's time to course correct?
Yes, there's a lot of time to course correct. This is not a are we doomed or are we not question. Everything that we do to reduce CO2 emissions right now helps to lower the temperature of the planet in the long run and helps to reduce the impacts. But I think what we're seeing now is a signal that this is happening now. It's happening fast. This is an emergency. This global warming, climate change is not something that's happening far off in the distance to people that are living in the future or in some other place. It is happening to us. We need to get serious about it. And this is what this summer is about, I think.
Jeff Goodell, whose new book, The Heat Will Kill You First, is out now.